Welcome everybody to the Latin Nerds Network. My name is Jose, and this is my review for Ballerina. Of course, from the world of John Wick, if you will. Of course, a spin-off from the very successful and popular action series. I'm a huge fan of John Wick, all four of them. Keanu Reeves at the peak of his powers. I know they announced the fifth one, so I'm excited about that. Anything that has to do with John Wick, I'm all in. I'm just a big fan of it. I love what they do. The action's great. Some of the best you're going to see, no doubt about it. This one, of course, starring Ana de Armas, of course, Cuban beauty, la cubana belleza. She is a big fan of hers, and she really, she's not her first time, first rodeo in the action foray, if you will. She's done action before, and she really knows how to present herself. That physicality needed to pull off a role like this. So I'm excited for her to get a chance to, be part of her own franchise, if you will. Which I'm sure their studio hoping this becomes as big a franchise, of course, as John Wick is. This one here, she plays, this takes place, from what I understand, from what they showed from the events of John Wick 3 and John Wick 4, right? Of course, she's as a young girl, her father who's protecting her from this organization. We come to learn that they're this kind of a cult thing, right? They have their own little world, which runs parallel. Well, that was interaction with those involved in the John Wick war, right? The Continental and all the Hitmen, all the things that we know and grown to love about this series. So now when she gets older, she's actually trained by, of course, Angelica Houston's character. And of course, you guys, if you remember from part 3, you have the ballet scene, the ballet company, of course. They're not just dancers, they're I guess, badasses themselves and used for assassins, I guess, something along those lines, which John Wick had an affiliation with when he was younger. She goes up learning the trade, if you will, and eventually she gets old enough, and once she learns what she needs to learn, she kind of goes on her own to seek revenge against those who killed her father, against the wishes, of course, of Angelica Houston. And listen, of course, there's John Wick is also here. This is the elephant in the room, right? We've seen the trailers. It's not a spoiler. We know John Wick does appear in these movies, and of course, and I kind of wish it was a surprise. But I get it because, listen, they got to put butt in seats. It's a business. They got to make money. So you have to ensure that people understand, hey, this is John Wick. This is part of the war, right? Not just in the title of the film, but bringing, of course, John Wick, that kind of character, to kind of help push things along to a degree. And what I liked about it, and I'll start with him first, is that, he's in it, no doubt, not for long stretches of the film, more towards the end, but he's used effectively, and he doesn't take away attention from the ballerina itself and Ana de Armas' character, right? Which is where the focus should be. This isn't bring him in to kind of just, he's used to enhance the film, not to take over the film. And as much as I love John Wick and I love to see him kick ass, and he does do some of that here, it's in small doses, and again puts the focus where it should be, because this movie at the end of the day is about the ballerina. But that all said, is this movie good? Yes, not great. I enjoyed it. I liked it. There's moments, particularly in the beginning, where I was like, okay, it's a little bit wonky. Even some of the scenes in the beginning, the first half of the film, was not really getting into as much. It seemed a little bit toned down from what we're used to seeing in the world of John Wick. But the second half of the film really picks up, right? When we get more familiarized with the world that it's in, right? Giving us, we have prior characters like Winston, of course, and the Continental itself, the concierge, and you really feel like, okay, now we're in this world of John Wick, if you will, and the action ramps up. It gets clever, it gets more graphic, some inventive scenes. You've seen things in the trailer with this kind of was like a shootout with flamethrowers, which I really enjoyed. The ice skates, anything she could use, and a lot of grenade work, which is really some really good stuff that really pops. And I was like, ooh, a lot of oohs and ahs from the crowd, which I really enjoyed. And that's exactly what I wanted to see out of this film, because listen, the story, it's basic, right? Again, like I mentioned, young girl, dad dies, she grows up, learns the trade, and goes after him. That's basically it, right? And even the first John Wick was a simple revenge story, albeit one involving a dog. So there's not much there, right? But what's important about these films is the action. This is why you go see it. This is why you pay the tickets, to go see the action. Who are we kidding here? And it does deliver, right? Although it's uneven, although it doesn't reach the heights of any other prior John Wicks, it's just not as good as any of those. It's still good and entertaining. So if you're a fan of this world, I think there's a lot that they introduce here with the lore of this new organization, with where she came from, with this ballet company that she's a part of, and they're not even actually her group, the dance company is not assassins per se. They're used more for protection than anything else. I found that very interesting, and how they're kind of parallel with this world, of course, that John Wick has given us. So I really enjoyed that. Some of the lore they introduce, and ultimately, Ana de Armas really knows. She really carries the film. That's the most important part, right? Much like Keanu Reeves carries John Wick in a way. So I really enjoyed that. I like Turner role, I like seeing John Wick, cool action. Just again, just a uneven beginning, but things really pick up when it's most important. And there's gonna be a lot of stuff I was like really impressed with some of the action. Not every scene was great, don't get me wrong, but there's some really cool, inventive action scenes I really enjoyed, and I think John Wick fans are going to enjoy. But tapered expectations. This is not gonna, set the world on fire or catch anybody by surprise like the original John Wick did, and it's obviously not as good as the prior ones, but still good. It's a worthy entry into this and a good introduction to a new character in as well, which I really hope they continue to explore, because I think it needs some better direction. I don't think Les Wiseman, who did this one, is really up to the task completely. I don't think he did a terrible job. He obviously did, because I still enjoyed the film. I don't think it reached the heights it could have. Particularly, we're so used to seeing from John Wick, you kind of have the same expectations for anything else that happens to be a spin-off, anything in that world. So, but that said, there's a lot to mine here. I like how we left off. It's obviously open for a sequel, of course, and I hope it does I hope it does well enough to kind of warrant that, as long as I keep that budget, kind of, in line. But ultimately, I think it's one I definitely recommend you watch in the theater. If you're a John Wick fan, it's really good action film. If you're new to John Wick, I still think you can get some enjoyment out of this, and maybe that'll help you introduce you to the world of John Wick and get even more enjoyment from those 4 films that are already out. So that said, Ballerina, I enjoyed it. You guys should go watch it. If you do, comment below, let me know what you guys think. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe below and feed money to go to the movies and talk about it afterwards. See you guys next time.